This session of the Showmanship, we're going to talk about different ways to get your horse ready. In order to make Showmanship a class that's fun and you can win with, you and your horse have got to become a partner. So whatever you do, your horse has got to follow. This mare's been to 2 horse shows. She didn't start Showmanship till this spring. So she's not 100% into the Showmanship mode yet. But to get this horse ready, you can take 10 or 15 minutes, 5 nights a week, and in a couple, 3 months, you'll have them ready to maybe hit your first horse show. We're going to talk about setting them up first. When we set them up, I always want to set the right hind foot first. As we set that right hind, I want this horse to get to the point I can move that left hind back and forth till finally she wants to set it down, gets it close, and she'll reward her by standing there. Now, that's all right to start with, but it's got to get better. All we worry about to start with are the back feet. That's it. And the movement for this to teach her is that lead moves front to back, front to back. There you go. Once we get ready for the front feet, they got to get pretty solid in their back seat before you start this. Then the front feet is left to right to set the front feet up. I'm not going to stand there and play with them. I'm going to move them again and start setting them up again. There we go. I want this horse to know what whoa means. That's got to get down to the point where you can do this in about 4 seconds. And as that horse learns whoa, you're going to get that horse there and you're going to set it up. You can talk to your horse in Showmanship. So this is the basic setup. You might almost always set them up on their left side. When we walk this horse off, Mandy's going to get clear back to her side and allow this mare to walk off. The one thing I don't want to see her do is pull this mare's head to her. So many times in Showmanship you see people pull the head, and as they stop, then the horse starts to flip the hip out. So as she walks off, she must stay there. She wants that mare to walk with her comfortably, like right there. As we do the pivot, that's good. There you go. So this mare's starting to set herself up on her own. It's that movement, stopping, that makes it do it. And then we got to get to the point where she'll stand there for a period of time. But as she walks this mare off, can you turn around and walk her off again? See where she's at? She's at the mare's throat latch as she walks off. And as she walks off, she extends her arms out here to make this mare walk off. In doing that, the mare starts to learn to follow her shoulder. Now walk her and I want you to stand. Now stop. See how Mandy moved her shoulders back? This mare starts to learn what those shoulders mean. That's what makes this mare stop and set up and that type of thing. It's not the fact it's not in her hand. So many times we see our young people want to go to their hand to make this horse stop, and they want to pull on them. The one thing I want to see in the trot, Mandy has to stay beside her. She can't get in front of her. What you see a lot in the Showmanship a lot of times, the young person or even older people will get out in front of the horse and they try to pull the horse along instead of get the horse to go with them. And that chain has got to be a take and release, take and release. Let's talk about the chain for a second. You're allowed to have the chain under or over the nose, or you're allowed to have a lead even without a chain. I like to put the chain under the chin. I think it makes a cleaner look if you are going to use a chain, to where if we put this chain over the nose, to me, that does not look as nice as when the chain's underneath. And you hear people say, well, you want to put the chain over top because it'll keep them from rearing up. If this horse gets used to that chain, you'll have no issue. And again, the chain is not about jerking on them. The chain is about taking this lead. If I want to get this mare's attention, I don't want to take this chain and just cram on it. If I want to get her attention, I'm going to take the pressure out of it and I'm going to jiggle that chain till I get what I want. We work on a pivot. This horse should pivot on the right hind foot. The reason you want them to pivot on the right hind foot, it's a forward movement. In the old days, back when I showed, it didn't matter which foot you pivoted off of. A lot of times our horse would pivot off the wrong foot. They'd pivot off the left because we backed them into a turn. And today, we want to pull them into a turn. So by pulling her into a turn, this mare is not quite ready for a 360 yet. So as she started to plant that right hind foot, she moved the left but kept the right in place. That's because Mandy kept her going forward. And in doing this also, this mare has to follow her shoulder. She has to lift that inside shoulder so she can step over. Push. There you go. So the more she works this mare, we're going to start getting that 360. And after this mare gets the basics down, then we can add speed to it. But the speed comes later. So many people try to put the speed in too fast. So start out slow and build on it. Start out with great big letters and get it down to where you're writing cursive. When I was in school, they gave me a big old fat pencil and 3-line paper to write on. So I get to print great big letters. That's how I learned to do it. Same thing has to be done with this horse. You got to let her print great big letters to let this happen. The more educated she gets, the better she's going to write and the smaller she can write. Those are some of your moves in showmanship. Hopefully this helped you a bunch.